Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one-stop podcast for students, professionals, parents, and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career, career guidance, and career mentoring. Please welcome your host, Dr. S.P. Mishra, to the show. And happy listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode on India Career Center. Today I'm delighted to welcome Professor Yehuda Baruch, who is basically a professor from the Southampton University, UK. His career is illustrious with so many publications, books, and expertise. Professor Baruch, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you're joining us today from where?
I'm joining actually from Japan. I'm on the academic break doing research and some teaching here in Japan, which I enjoy. Last month I was in India, in southern India, enjoying a visit to Tapmi. So I see myself quite global now, visiting all sorts of places, enjoying academic life. And I think it is very important that people should enjoy their career and not suffer in their career. And this is why it is very important to make sure that you make the right career choice to start with. I can tell you about myself that I made the wrong career choice in my first career. And by combination of luck and management, I managed to get to the career that I wanted.
So, Professor, to know a little more about you, take us through your origin, your education, and your professional career in brief.
Yes. Okay, I was born in a small country in the Middle East, which is Israel. Too much in the news for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Wrong reasons. But yes, I grew up in Israel, did my studies, my army service, and studied to be electronic engineer because this is what was considered very important and a good status of a profession. And I thought that engineering would be great. But I realized that after I finished engineering, I realized I don't like engineering. Luckily for me, my employer, instead of putting me in engineering position, put me in managerial position. I was in the Israeli Air Force, and I became a manager of technicians, etc. And I realized that I get my results through people. And it meant that working with people was the most important thing. So I wanted to study how to manage people. I went to the Technion and did my master and then PhD in people management and chose the field of careers because I felt that my career was not well managed and I had this urge to help organizations looking at careers. This was good in many elements. So my first career was not a waste. It taught me a lot about organizations, how practical management is done, the role of people, and the role of careers. And I thought that I will study organizational careers, how organizations manage careers. But when I came to academia, I realized the major change that the field of careers and labor studies went through, where the system became more individualistic oriented, where people take care and take control over the management of their career, and the organization is a partner, which helped me to explore the case of careers from a wide range of perspectives, and later led me to develop the career ecosystem theory that is applied in the field now.
And tell us about your teaching career, how long you have been in the field of academia, and how long associated with the Southampton University?
Well, I finished my PhD in the Technion, Israel in 1991. I had my postdoc in City University and then London Business School in the UK. Worked at the University of East Anglia for a few years, and then I had an option, interesting case, to move to France months to work in a French business school, which was totally different system, where the business school is private rather than part of the organization of a university, where the management of people was quite different culturally and practically. And that was a great lesson. But after that, I returned back to the UK, and in 2013, I came to Southampton. I was already professor before, so I came to professorial position. During those years, I progressed both to become the deputy dean of research in all the three schools that I've been to. And in parallel, I developed my academic career in terms of doing works in the editorial positions. I was editor, and I was involved with the Academy of Management and became the chair of careers. I was the first non-American chair of the careers division. And doing editorial roles that I continue to do till today.
Okay, so Professor, moving on, I want to ask you something which is very pertinent to today's times. So the way we are witnessing, development of technology, geopolitics, regional conflicts, and demographic shifts since the beginning of 21st century, and I think more so in this decade, starting from 2011 onwards, the work, professional careers, and employability are constantly changing. And the changes are so rapid that it is difficult to predict what's in the going to happen in the horizon of next 2 3 years itself. So in such scenario, how do you really advise the young students in schools and colleges or even universities to plan for their future?
Yes, I totally agree with you. The business world today is characterized by the VUCA environment, namely volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And this makes the management of careers, management of businesses, management of people, and definitely management of career the high challenging, because we have many actors playing, changes all the time. The only thing that is stable is change. And people and organizations need to find the best way to identify the right people for the right job, when to move, and how to create your self-sustainable career. When I think a sustainable career, I follow the idea of De Vos and Van der Hagen, that a sustainable career should be, in a sustainable career, you should be productive, happy, and healthy. And these are important elements, but how to keep sustainable career when everything is changing? Well, we are in different situations than in the past. In the past, what people really wanted is to have a stable job, stable career, where you can count on job security. This was a lie that was delivered to people because it didn't reflect reality. And definitely, since the competitiveness realm of the end of the last century, we see that what matters is not having a secure job, but having employability, being able to learn, to perform, to change yourself. Like Professor Tim Hall from Boston University talked about the Protean career. Proteus was a Greek god that could change himself according to will. And people today can change themselves. People can change career. People can move through many boundaries. The boundaryless career theory of Arthur and Rousseau and De Filippi is true in terms of having boundaries. Well, boundaries have not ceased to exist, but they are more blurred, they are more permeable, and people can change much more than in the past. Also, the ideas and the ideals of careers have changed. And few people now wants to go and work for one organization all their life. You learn much more when you have interest in careers. But interest in life may be a curse rather than a bless, so you have to find a balance between change and stability, and knowing that, well, you don't have a secure job, nobody has a secure job, but you can secure your future by being employable, by being able to adjust yourself, to learn new things, new competencies that the labor market needs. And the labor market is changing. It changes a lot. And as Schwab wrote about the fourth industrial revolution, we are facing new challenges, especially technologically, because unlike the past, we have a new actor entering the labor market, and this new actor is called artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is a disruptive factor which can do work that we do in sometimes in much better, more effective way. And the thing is, what is it going to do to the labor market? Definitely it's going to change it. And the question is what to do, how individuals, how organizations, and how society is going to react or work with AI. One thing that I wouldn't suggest is to object it. History tells us a very good lesson that whenever technology came and people try to sabotage it, stop it, no. If you want to be competitive, you need to work with technology, to work with progress, and not to object it, to stop it. Even if we live in our comfort zone, we should realize that the world is changing. If you are a driver, well, please bear in mind that within few years, actually the technology is already available in many places to replace all drivers. So if you're a professional driver, then autonomous car will get you out of your job. And when, it's not if, I think, but when all cars will be autonomous cars, or 99% of them, there will be no need for drivers. Actually, it's not only drivers. Just think that autonomous cars follow the law to the letter. When all the cars will be autonomous, there will be almost no accidents, because 90% or so of the accidents are caused by human errors and human factors. So if things will be developed in this direction, not only will we not need drivers, we will not need all the garages that deals with broken cars. We will need less people to deal with casualties. We will not need traffic police. We will not need driving lessons, which means that if you combine all this population, you have about maybe 10% of the labor market wiped out. And this is only drivers. Think about all the other professions. Think about coders, people that work for high technology and think that they have very safe job because they are coders. Today, AI does coding much better than people do. The same way that AI can beat, well, chess programs can beat any human being, human player in this type of game. Chess, even Go. So AI can do things better for us, but also AI might mean that significant share of the labor market will not be needed. This means that many people that work today in apparently safe jobs may need to rethink it. People that are entering the labor market need to think what will they do in the future. It is clear that radiologists, even the best radiologists in the profession, they cannot match the prognosis of AI for the identification of a certain disease like cancer, etc. Luckily for radiologists, they can change to other medical professions that are needed. but drivers cannot do it. They don't have the skills and the capacity, unless, of course, they know other things to do. The big challenge here is for society as a whole, because if you look at the changes from the past, we all started as hunter-gatherers. But about 10,000 years ago, people figure out that we can cultivate the land, and slowly, people moved to agriculture until within 10,000 years, 85% of the population or so were working the land. The rest were in admin, army, etc. So that was gradual, and that enabled us to get used to the change. Now, 200 years ago came the Industrial Revolution, which changed it altogether. The people that work in agriculture were not needed in agriculture because of technology. There was need for people in production.
Right.
So there was a huge change in the labor market. Today, instead of 85%, something like 2-3% of the population produce the food that is needed by everybody else. What happened to them? They moved to production. However, robotics and technology by the end of the last century enable machinery to produce most of the products in a much better way than people did it in the past. So you don't need a blacksmith. You have CNC machines that produce products, which means that today in the UK, for example, less than 20% of the population work in production. What do these people do? They move to services. However, the first revolution took 10,000 years. The second one, 200 years. The last one, the third one, took about 50 years, the move to services. Now we have the fourth revolution. And what people don't realize is that unlike the earlier revolutions, where there was a lot of time, several generations, until it settled down to the new situation, we might be facing a situation where a significant share of the labor force will not be needed. Because there will be food for everybody, there will be products for everybody, services will be delivered, much of them. Of course, you always need some people, but not that many. We might be facing a situation where significant share of the workforce will not, of the population that is in the workforce the definition, will not be needed. What will they do? And yes, you think that let's learn from history, but maybe we shouldn't learn from history. We don't learn from history, that's for sure. But if you try to build on history, you'll say, oh, they will find something. But I say, well, let's try to think a bit differently. What if not? What if they will not be needed? What will be the social solution? And there is one, at least one suggestion, which is called the UBI, Universal Basic Income, where some people will not be needed to work, and society will help them to free their time. And the question is, what will they do with their time? Maybe volunteering, maybe doing other things. But this may create a new social status of people that are not unemployed, but people that are not supposed to be employed, and from this new social status. So this is kind of a wide general changes to society, where instead of the old system that I describe in my theory career ecosystem, where we have different players, the individual, the organization, the nation, suddenly we have a new player that have incorporate new rules to the game. And AI is a new challenge, but you can work in collaboration with it. You may fear it, and you might have good reasons to fear for your job because of AI, but it doesn't mean that you need or that you can be successful in fighting it or stopping it. You cannot stop development. You cannot stop progress.
Yeah. So I think just to summarize, what you are saying is that one needs to be adaptable and willing to learn new things as we go along. And the concept of secured job is something which is of past. We should not think about that. Rather, keep looking for what is coming new and keep learning new and be adaptive, be open. If one can follow that as a young student, especially this question was with respect to the young students who are right now in education and who have not actually got into any kind of job yet. So for them, it is not about just learning what they are learning at school and college or university, but also the being open to be learning to learn in future as well as they go along into their professional career is important. Do you agree?
Yes, learning never ends. And when you come to university and here at the University of Southampton, we try to teach our students to learn and to be ready for a future where they will use the basics that they study and have a high quality education, but that will make them employable for the future. And that will be the root for their success in the future.
Now, moving on, Professor, I have a question with respect to the Indian context. Now, in India, the situation is even more how should I say, even more challenging, I would say, with respect to the formal job sector. I mean, data shows that in India, the formal job sector provides work for only about 5 to 6% of the employable people. When I say employable people, typically it is defined as anybody who is aged between 18 to 60 or 65 is called the employable group of people. And in India, right now, the formal job sector is able to cater to only 5 to 6% of these employable people into a formal job. And with the adaptation of more technology, especially you mentioned about AI and automation, which is kind of robotics and others, I'm sure this percentage will further drop as we go along. And in coupled with this, what we are seeing is that the median age of in India is about 28, 29 right now, which means that for next 2 decades, we will have a kind of a opportunity as well as challenge with respect to demographics, because we are bringing in more and more young people into the workforce. At the same time, the other end, the technology is actually pushing the percentage of formal jobs in India. So when we are seeing this kind of a situation, especially those who are currently working in a profession, it's kind of quite scary to think about this situation. And for them, again, probably the advice of yours would be that to be employed to think about employability rather than anything else. But would you like to elaborate on this?
Yes, it is really a bizarre situation that only 5-6% of the workforce is employable and the rest is sort of informal or whatever it is. And this may explain why India is lagging behind its potential, because you have very large population, and country like India with the human resource, with the brain, with the ability to work could be amazing, but the lack of order and the lack of orientation towards a system where you work in a system rather than on your own against everybody else is maybe something that India as a nation needs to consider, how to make it more organized, less divided, and making the future for the country by using the people together, by applying a system of employment for those who could be employed, and not let people drop out of the system and be dependent on so few people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, this is a challenge which probably it really needs a lot of attention from the from all the stakeholders from the society.
Yes, I fully agree. Yeah. So
Okay.
the future in that sense means that the students, if they want to benefit themselves and the country, they need to find ways to be useful for themselves and for the industry, and make a mainstream where the national wealth will be much better. Some of it could be done in different ways, and we know that India suffers from the phenomena of the brain drain, where so many good people go elsewhere and making other countries getting better. The question is how to make sure, or how to stop this brain drain and maybe make it brain circulation. People go out and then coming back with new knowledge and new understanding of how systems can work, getting back people like the sea turtles that goes out and coming back eventually. Because otherwise, the phenomena of brain drain will continue, and people that believe and are capable of changing their career may opt to leave. And this is not for a good future. Whereas India have the infrastructure, India have the good people, good education system, how to apply it, how to do it in a way that the system will work as a system in collaboration between the different actors, so that overall, at the aggregate levels, there will be better efficiency and better outputs to the benefit of everybody.
So, since you are also dealing with other countries as a professor in the international education system, so how do you see the approach of China to address a situation like this? I'm sure in China also the situation could be similar, though I'm not aware of what kind of percentages of their employable people are in the formal job sector. But in terms of the overall population, I guess China is very comparable to India.
It is very comparable in many elements, but in some other elements are quite the opposite. For example, in China, you have a central planning and central orientation, centralization, which if India is going to decentralization extreme, China goes to extreme of centralization, which is also a pitfall. In China, they realized long ago that while in the past, the most important thing for the family economy, hence the village economy, hence the country economy, is to have many children, today you realize no. And one thing interesting about China is that in 78, they introduced the single child policy, because they realized there are too many and you don't, it is a problem at a national level. Go back 50 years later, they said, okay, enough is enough, we did it. Look at them. They didn't go now to have back 5, 10 children, a family. The current generation, they have 1, 2 children, and this is enough, because when you have 1, 2, or 2, or, well, I have 4 children, but if you can cater for their education, for their nutrition, but then education, then well-being, you'll get a high level of human capital. Whereas if you think the way they thought in the Middle Ages, children are not a workforce. So the thing is about how do you build future society in a way that people could be well educated and working together, but not necessarily against each other, and not necessarily in a chaotic environment. And yes, there is this volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity everywhere, but the way forward must be to find a balance between over decentralization, over lack of order, and over order and over control which you may find in China. And India is, in this sense, on the other, the opposite extreme to the one in China. And maybe the way forward is to find some more middle of the way approach to manage your human capital, human resource. Because for every organization, the people are the most important resource, the most important asset.
That's
the
right.
big question is, how do you treat this asset? How do you manage this asset? What kind of career planning and management you have if you want as an organization to benefit from your workforce in the best way? And yes, like everything, every resource, people are a resource, and you need to manage this resource. And you can manage it in a way that will be productive, will enable people to be productive, healthy, and happy. And it is possible, it is feasible, it could be done, and it will be for the benefit of the system as a whole.
Welcome back after the break. Professor, we will move on to another important topic, and it is very important with respect to the Indian context also. If you look at most of the Western countries are getting older, and despite the use of technology in more mundane job roles, we will continue to need young people in different job roles that cannot be automated. So how do you see the impact of this in terms of the immigration across the world?
Yes, this is a global challenge where different countries have different approaches and different policies. And there are many ways to deal with this, because we have the baby boomers generation, which I belong to, that are departing from the labor force, and there are less and less new entrances, unlike India and the most Western countries. You see a significant drop in birth rate. In the countries like Japan, Korea, it is below 1. The average children per family, the moment the average children per family goes below 2.1, the population is shrinking. And there will be a new balance where the labor market will have to stabilize. Now, there are different solutions for this. For example, Germany decided that they need new working hands. So they opened the borders and were very positively active in getting foreign people, especially from Turkey, that helped a lot the economy. However, they also created a sort of cultural issues of fit, of adjustment to the local culture and the way things are being done. It is done in other countries too, maybe not to that extent. Other countries, especially special examples, are Eastern Europe, where they refuse and try to block immigration. And for these reasons, you find it also in Japan, where Japan is not encouraging, actually trying to block and foreign workforce. And we don't know yet what will happen in the future, which approach will be more useful. What I can say is that one of the big misses of the systems, especially in the West, is the issue of retirement. Because what happened is that 200 years ago, von Bismarck came with this great social idea that people shouldn't work until they drop dead.
Okay.
And they introduced the idea of retirement. So people should work until they become very old, and then the nation will help them by giving them pension. That's a great idea, but it was possible because at the time, 200 years ago, by the age of 65, most of the people already died.
Right.
Now, since then, there were several developments. One of them is that people live not longer, but much longer, and average age longevity is over 80. Women, of course, live more than men, but this is an issue for another discussion. But yes, people live longer, people live much better. People today, at the age of 70 and more, are highly capable, many of them. Of course, some people or in some profession that requires physical ability, it will be difficult, but people that they operate in the knowledge economy can continue to work, and age of 65 should not be the rule. I published in 2014, I published a paper calling for the abolishment of retirement, or the abolishment of retirement age. And luckily, not because of my paper, of course, but the government in the UK decided to abolish retirement age. So people like myself that past the age of 65 can continue to be a positive, productive part of the economy and not needing to leave the workforce just because a certain physical arbitrary age was set 200 years ago for this retirement. Why should people retire if they are capable and they want and they are productive? Of course, some people are not productive, better for them to retire. Some people are not capable, better for them to retire. But if you look at this workforce, you need those people. So why send them out of the workforce? And to the accusations that they prevent progression from young people, this is not true because they are not fighting on the same jobs or the same positions. And there is a need to change the attitudes of both young people and older people to this idea and concept of retirement, making it much more flexible and enabling people to continue benefit from work and being positive, useful elements of the national economy rather than being a burden of the economy when in a time where not enough people entering the labor force and hence not enough people are paying for the pension funds, which might lead to collapse of the pension system if longevity will continue to grow and people will, and not enough people, young people will enter the labor market. This is not what happens in India, of course, because in India you still have many young people that are entering the workforce, so the situation in India is different. But still, the people that made it and worked and were the leading force of the economy, they don't need to retire so early, and the arbitrary age of retirement belongs to the past, to my view.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, which means that UK, this rule is applicable for all types of jobs?
Yes, of course. If you lay bricks, I think it will be more difficult for you to continue working in your 60s or 70s, but you can still do other works. Definitely for knowledge workers, let's take as an example the academia. Yes, in the USA, in academia, you can continue work till you finish working.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is very logical for all the Western world because there the population is on a degrowth. So it would make sense actually for especially the knowledge workers to continue to work as long as they can. But in country like India or most of the Asian, Southeast Asian countries and the entire continent of Africa, I think this is going to be a big challenge because uh, we have so many young people who have to get into the job market every year. For example, in India, around 10 million young people get into the job market every year. I mean, 10 million people come out of the higher education every year. So We need to find jobs for them. So we have a different challenge altogether in India. And I'm sure the challenge would be similar in Africa and most of the other Southeast Asian countries as well, with high population.
Status of the people that are getting into retirement age is different. They are not fighting for the same jobs, and they're in different position. They can create new businesses to employ those young people.
Yeah, that's a very positive way to look at it. The existing people who are there already, they can actually create more opportunities for young people to come into the job market. Yeah, that's a very interesting take on this, and I would love to mention that in the show notes about your 2014 article about the retirement policy. I think that's a very interesting one. So moving on now, of course, with all this doom and gloom, I think what I see and the way I guide the young students in India, especially my mentees and their parents. I mean, the way I see it is that there is a silver lining in all these uncertainties. The reason being, in this era of growth of population, what we're seeing is that basic human needs will continue to be a high in demand. When I say basic human need, what are those? Basically, it is food, clothes, housing, health, education, entertainment, communication, transportation, environment, and so on and so forth. All these areas will continue to have very high demand because more population is wanting those basic human needs. So do we see, as an academician yourself, do you see that universities and colleges will actually start? Of course, there are hotel management schools, there are schools and colleges with respect to specific area. But do you see this more of happening, saying that okay, we will have University of Food Science, University of Clothing Technology, and so on and so forth in the future, so that the young people can actually decide, okay, this is the area I want to go in, and in that I will specialize in a particular skill or knowledge and work in that particular sector. How do you see that as an academician?
This is one way to look at it, namely more specialization and differentiation. However, universities are, for me, the temple of knowledge, where knowledge is created, and the most important inventions and developments come from interactivity or interdisciplinarity, where people from different places and different professions work together. So to get a very good knowledge, education about food, you better have faculty of biology and faculty of chemistry and faculty of food and faculty of management in the same institution to make sure that you are doing well. So I think that trying to specialize and create, well there are many institutions, specific institutions, okay, like University for Atomic Studies, or this is a possibility, but I think that the way universities work and create this the university experience, both for the students and for the for science, it would work better when you have interactions and cross-fertilization between different fields rather than isolation and over-specialization in a specific field, specific type of knowledge. You learn by working together much better than trying to be the only focus on clothes, etc. How can you focus only on clothes and textile if you don't have a school of design, if you don't have school of chemistry, if you don't have a school of materials? How can you work without the electronics and the electricity that is needed and all that? So I think that universities have developed for good reason. I also think about the experience of young people going to university. They go to university not only to work with people like their own mind, they need to meet others and to benefit from wide experiences, to meet other people that they will enable them to be more rounded, balanced people in the future, and not totally, fully specialized, narrow-minded. This is my view.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I agree. I think collaboration is something which is very, very important, and that will be a key factor in the years to come, and will remain very, very important factor for all the future generation also. No
Now,
doubt about
it is true that it is good that different universities will have their best known or best knowledge in specific field. So some universities could be more strong on humanities, other universities strong on legal issues, and other universities are strong, like University of Southampton is strong on the engineering and life science.
Mm.
Even in our business schools, there are many business schools, and you cannot work, you won't have a business school for finance or business school for HR or business school for marketing. You have all of them together. Of course, in the business school of Southampton Business School, we have a data analytics department that is very strong, and the link force, we are known for that especially, although I'm in the HR department, whereas other universities are known for their strengths in marketing, and other universities are for their strengths in industrial relations. So different business schools work with different strengths. However, they work together, having the balance of all the needed fields that are needed to work together in business, and the same as a university, delivering the needs of the population for a wide range of issues, products, and fields, so that we have rounded people that have a more balanced, rather narrow development of knowledge, learning, and benefiting from interdisciplinarity.
it. Yeah, so I think we are almost on the closing of the conversation. So, would you like to give some suggestion, advice to young people or students in terms of what you see as the future trends which are emerging? Of course, I think we dealt with a lot of things during our conversation, but anything which you feel we have not discussed and which you see as a trend for the future, and related to that, if there is any specific advice to students?
Yes, my advice is prepare yourself for change, expect the unexpected, because the unexpected will happen.
Yeah.
Chance event will come, future shocks, including career shocks, will come, and we learn how to work with them. And we are changing. One example, in 2001, I wrote a paper about working from home, and I wrote that it is a great way of working, but it will not flourish, and I don't expect it to be widespread because of lack of trust from management to working from home. And what I wrote in 2001 was in this word: unless a global catastrophic event will happen, working from home will not flourish.
Right.
20 years later, global catastrophic event happened, and people learn, managers learn, that you can trust your employees, that your employees will work even if they're at home and deliver, and we have a change of mind. So before that, it was for many years about 6 to 7% of the population working from home. At the height of the COVID, 50% work from home. Now, it's not going to be back 6 to 7%. We don't know yet how many people will work from home on a permanent or part-time basis, but there is a change. So embrace change, be open to it, try to learn from it, rather than try to fight progress and avoid trying to shell yourself into old habits. The world is changing and people need to change. And people can change. This is my main message.
And the recommendations are similar for the professionals also, because they are in a different situation. Unlike the young students who are still in the schools and colleges or universities, the professionals are already in a particular setup of work or a particular career. So for them, any recommendations from?
Yes, the job of a professional is to be professional. And the thing is how to continue being professional when new technologies and AI comes, how to find a new role for yourself when new career actors are coming. And in terms of the young generation, they are the future. So like we academics enjoy our work, but there is special enjoyment in leading PhD students to be the next generation of academics. The same should be for professionals. They need to use their position, their knowledge, their competence to make sure that the new generation that are coming will be mentored and developed into creating better future for everybody. And this could be a new career aim, new career goal for professionals.
Fantastic. So you're saying that they should be more aligned to be able to give back to their professions and to young
give back
people.
to the profession, give to society, and develop the new generation in a way that will benefit themselves and the new generation and society as a whole.
Okay. And some of my audience are also the parents of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Most of them are born in the 21st century, so to speak. So for them, especially for the parents, because most of the parents are from the earlier generation, obviously, and the world of work is changing so fast, so different from what the parents of these children have seen. So what do you suggest or advise to these parents?
Well, they should support their children, but they should also realize that the advice that they give may not be the relevant or the right one, because things are changing. So they need also to change the way they think and to realize that what was true for their generation may not be true for the new generation. They have different approaches, and going up the organization is not the only way to enjoy and benefit from life or from work.
Right. Okay. I think Professor Baruch, thank you for sharing all your insights today and being with us for a conversation. I hope a lot of our audience will benefit from your advice and wisdom, and they may reach out to you. I will be sharing the LinkedIn profile and other details on the show notes. If anybody wants to reach out to you, they can do so. And also they can explore.
Yes, they are very welcome. They are very welcome to read my recent book, Managing Career and Employability, which was published by Sage in 2022, so not so quite recent. And yes, employability is the future.
So, Professor Baruch, thank you so much to invest your time today with us, and we are so glad to connect with you and looking forward to more conversations in future.
Many thanks for inviting me to share my thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic.